Well, you do get rusty. We are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. This is Are You Serious Sports? We hope that you guys are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Huge show in store for you here tonight as Zachy. We are officially 1 month away from LSU baseball. Why LSU has now come in as the consensus number one team in preseason. We will touch on that here tonight as it is really, really close to first pitch and teeing everything off. We have not really talked about in depth, okay, in reference to LSU baseball. We will do that here tonight. Where do I think that they're going to go? A lot of people say Omaha or bust. I tend to agree considering where LSU is at the current moment. We will give a little bit of a recruiting update here tonight as LSU tries to finish some things out here in recruiting. Maybe a little bit of Walker Howard news. He was supposed to commit to Ole Miss today. Did LSU do something to stop that? Who knows? We will touch on that here tonight. I kind of combine these two. I don't know when I'll talk about it because honestly, Zach, I thought tonight was the LSU basketball game, so we didn't get on a guest. But the LSU basketball game's tomorrow at 6, not tonight at 6. So we will do a little bit of adjusting. So my Ruffino's rants were going to be, why aren't the Saints making any moves? Pete Carmichael is still technically the offensive coordinator for the New Orleans Saints. At some point, you're going to have to make a move here tonight, or not here tonight, but here at some point, you're going to have to make a move on Pete Carmichael. And why this is even so much as or remotely a situation where this is up for question or anything of that nature is a little bit crazy to me. Just crazy to me. Joe Lombardi got fired today. Byron Leftwich got fired today. Why is Pete Carmichael still employed with the New Orleans Saints? We'll touch on that here tonight and hashtag Ask Blake. So you have any thoughts, questions, concerns? Fire them inside the Rudy Crew chat, and we will try to get to as many of them as we can throughout the show. So it's going to be a big one. We will obviously touch on LSU football. That's where we will start. So let me say this. Today, I kind of took a little bit of a deep dive into what LSU is returning and what it's meant in the past. It's interesting enough when you start really going into the numbers, what LSU is actually returning is technically, I guess you could say John Emery made it official by not going into the NFL draft. What LSU returns in the run game. A lot of people, Zach, interesting enough, said that Jaden Daniels runs too much, but statistically, he does not. I'll tell you why that is in just one moment. But let's get into a couple questions before we do get started. Zachy says, shoot, I'll talk baseball with you, Blake. Yeah, I'll bring you up in here. We'll talk a little baseball. Because here's the crazy thing, Zach. LSU currently, and I'm plucking and playing some of this. LSU's offense hit 104 home runs just in the starting 9. How about that? LSU's starting line, I'm not talking about guys that will come off the bench and get some playing time and things like that. Just their starting 9 hit 104 home runs. That's taking Travinsky out of the lineup, who can hit double digits. That's Cade Beloso that could hit double digits. We saw that in his freshman year. He's not in that lineup. And a guy that might see or might not be a guy that you see starting a lot in Braden Jobert had 18 home runs last season. So does he split time with Paul Skeens at the DH role? We'll have to take a look and see. But LSU, look, it really is a lot of this, and you've got other talented freshmen like Gavin Guidry and others. You have a situation where, guys, I will tell you, I'm to a situation where it might be LSU or Omaha or bust for me with them. Brandon Reed says, hashtag ask Blake if the Saints were to get rid of Carmichael, who would you go get to be your next or new OC? It's an interesting question. I mean, look, I think that there are some guys that have been fired today that maybe you would, look at. I mean, Byron Leftwich, man. I mean, a lot of people are blaming him. I mean, Tom Brady was complete dookie water, and a lot of people are going to blame it on Leftwich. Lombardi's out there, but there's a lot of good OCs that you can go and get. Joe Brady's the quarterback's coach. That's if he wants to be in the NFL, he is a guy that's a quarterback's coach in Buffalo. So if you want to keep it to somewhat of a Sean Payton connection, Joe Brady could be out there. And I know a lot of LSU fans think that it might not happen, but let's see. I mean, at least I'd ask him if he wants to stay in the NFL. Todd Boudreaux says, liked and shared on Facebook. Let's go. Thank you, Todd, for doing that. Stephen Fry, good friends over at Fry Construction. Y'all need to give them a call if you need any of their services or anything that they provide. Site and land development, oil and gas services, commercial construction, aggregate and soil, hauling, waste containers, demolition. They do it all. Give them a call at 337-457-5100. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. But he said L to the F to the G. I saw, actually, believe it or not, I got to hang out a lot this weekend with one of Stefan's old guys in Zach Pearson this weekend. Got to hang out with Zach Pearson this weekend, Rafe Rhymes. It was a good weekend, man. Really good weekend. Good to see Zach and Rafe. So we did talk a lot of LSU baseball this past weekend. We got a lot to talk about. And look, it's good to listen to guys like Pearson and Rafe and Zach Kirksey and Evan and a lot of these other guys talk about some of these stories about Paul Mainieri and how his voice, hey, it's really fun to hear those stories from those guys. Jason Tabor sent some stars via Super Chat. Thank you, Jason, for doing that. Pressure Williams says the champ is here, like his name is Muhammad Ali. Josh Carlos says, hope Sean Payton takes the Denver job. We need the picks. Well, believe it or not, Josh, Denver doesn't have the picks. They traded them to Seattle in that Russell Wilson trade, so they don't have it. I mean, the best thing, and Sean Payton was really candid. We'll talk about this, but Sean Payton was really candid when he went on with Colin Cowherd. It was yesterday or day before, whenever it was, talking about like, look, the Saints are looking for a mid to late round, first round pick. Okay, well, the Texans have it. Maybe you can draft Bryce Young and then go hit, Sean, but the Texans just don't feel like a organization that Sean Payton would want to be a part of. But man, we'll see. That's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take. He said he thought they traded Bradley Roby for a first. I thought maybe they did. Maybe they do have a late first round pick. Andrew Paul's Hub Martin. By the way, Paul's Hub, not the real Paul's Hub. I mean, I'm talking about the real Paul's Hub. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Y'all saw that the state of Louisiana banned it. You got to like put in your information. Yeah. He says Sean to the Texans would get us great picks. Yeah, it maybe two, but apparently they're looking for one. Such a Saints move, but they're trying to hold on to it. Aaron Hornsby says, just bring Sean back. I don't think Sean wants to come here, man. I don't think Sean wants to come back. And let me say this, the clock is ticking on Mickey Loomis here, man. Like it is completely ticking on him. Like, Mickey, I know that you want to keep the same culture around, but that culture and Sean Payton's about to go get another head coaching job somewhere. Why is Sean Payton not bringing any of those guys with him reportedly? Apparently, Sean's got his staff. It doesn't have anything to do with any of the guys on the Saints. So what now? So a guy's going to rebuild without the coaches that he had in New Orleans. Well, Blake, he doesn't want Blake, he doesn't want to hurt the Saints. Bullshit. It's BS. Kirby Smart followed Nick everywhere he went until he became the head coach of Georgia. Bull. I don't buy that at all. All right. Let's do this. Everybody, let's get started. Let's get this thing rolling, Zach. Everybody, do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all of those Facebook groups. Share it all to over your social media accounts. We appreciate you doing that. We're still doing the $200 giveaway. If you subscribe on YouTube to the Ruffino and Joe Show and AYS Sports on as well, subscribe, notification bell. One lucky listener will get $200. So don't forget to do that. If you're listening to us on XM Radio, TuneIn app, or wherever you listen to podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe as well. Let's get to our first break. We'll be back in 1 minute. LSU baseball and football on the horizon. We'll talk some Saints right after. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag. With over 65 years of experience, nobody is better equipped to service in your vehicle than GM Vardo & Sons. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. If you break down the side of the road in the greater Baton Rouge area, they will come and get you. And the best thing about that is that they can come and get you, and then they can bring your vehicle back to their shop and start the repairs right then. Again, GM Varno & Sons. Go see them over at 2500 Fuller Boulevard. Give them a call at 225-664-9992. 225-664-9992. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino sent you on by. All right, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Let's get this thing rolling, y'all. All right. I want to start off with this Ruffino's rants. I'm not going to be long with it because we do have a lot that we have to discuss. But today, it was announced that, and it had pretty much already been announced that John Emery was returning to LSU football. Why? I get why people were quote unquote reporting it. I get that part. The interesting part, though, is with John Emery returning, this is what you will get. So LSU had approximately last year 2,600 rushing yards, right? 2,600 rushing yards is nothing to sneeze over in 2022 or just really any season at all. The funny thing about that is now that John Emery is returning, LSU will approximately have 2,468 rushing yards. Let's call it 2,500 rushing yards of the 2,600 that are going to be returning on this team. If LSU were any other team in the country, I do believe people would say that this is a national title contender. The interesting part about this is when you start breaking down and you start looking and giving advanced metrics and things like that, did you know that Jane Daniels only accounted for 33% of LSU's total rushing yards? Now, when I say stuff like this, people take that and run and say, well, Blake's, trying to paint a narrative or whatever it may be. Here's what I'm trying to say and using that stat in the 33%. Jane Daniels does have to throw the ball more down the field. But the narrative and the thought that he's running too much isn't necessarily true. Because you can go back and look at teams and look at national title and nice national championship runner-ups and look what their quarterback has done that have been dual threat. You look at a guy like a Kyler Murray, you look at a guy like a Cam Newton or a Tim Tebow. These things have definitely happened. Even you could look at Georgia to some extent from last season when you got Stetson Bennett rushing for 10 touchdowns. I don't think that the problem necessarily is that quote unquote Jaden runs too much. My argument would be is that Jay needs to not only when he's running and making those big plays, he's going to have to start sprinkling in some of those deeper passes, more intermediate passes, 10, 15 yards down the field to start pushing it. Because if he's able to accomplish that during this offseason, what's going to happen is those linebackers are going to back out the box. Safety is going to back out the box. And the teams that did that, now the advanced metrics on this look a little something like this. Do you remember Florida? Do you remember Alabama when Jaden started throwing the ball down the field and completing those passes? His running lanes and everything he did with his feet started to open up. The fourth quarter long run that he had against Alabama, which LSU would go down the field and they would throw the corner route to Mason Taylor closer to the back pylon, was a product of throwing the ball down the field in 2 drives before that. If you remember when Malik Neighbors mossed, I'm talking about what? Absolutely mossed Eli Ricks along the sideline. My point is this. If I'm looking at this, you better believe that Brian Kelly is. I don't think the argument sits here or the argument could or should sit here that he necessarily runs too much, because 33% is not a lot. When you go and look at Cam and Tebow and you look at how, from a rushing yardage perspective, those guys did run the ball a lot too, but they were able to hit the balls down the field. Garrett Nussmeier will give you that, but you would probably take some of those rush yards, away from what LSU's doing. The good thing is this. If LSU had around 2,600 rushing yards this season, and they were 10-4 and they won the SEC West, could they get to 3K? You know, Joe Burrow in that 2019 season, they were around 6,000 total yards. They're not far off, guys. The thing that's going to be interesting to watch from this team, do they have some holes yet that they need to fill? Yes. They have some holes that they 1,000% have to fill. But the one thing for me that I'm going to really be leaning into and looking into is when everybody else across the nation and everyone else across the country looks at LSU and starts seeing how much they have returning. Guys, you might have to start pulling LSU in a national title contender for 2023. Because if you don't, I think you're missing out on what every other team in college football has done. Look, the funny thing is, like, you look at the national champions this year. You look at Georgia this year. What did they have returning offensively? Damn near everybody. You could say, well, George Pickens left, but George Pickens didn't play last year at all. They didn't play last year at all. You had an older quarterback that led them back to a national title. Guys, I will say this way and far too early. When you, and I will do this tomorrow, when you put your top 10 in there, my top 10's going to be different than everybody else's. I think you got to put LSU right up there in the mix as a national title contender. It's going to come down to week 1 against Florida State. You open the season to prove yourself that you belong there. Can you do it? You go to Tuscaloosa. Can you do it? Guys, you should be. The crazy thing is, you're going to be a favorite against everybody else on your schedule. So at worst, is LSU going to be 10-2 again? Can they get there? Can they go to Orlando and knock off Florida State? Because what happens when you go into Orlando and you knock off a top 10 Florida State, guys, you'll be a top 3 team within moments. I don't know again, the argument's never going to be, does Jane have to throw the ball down the field? That's not the argument. The argument is, when you put in all the numbers and Jaden only can really and truthfully, it only accounts for 33%, and then you got 77% of your rushing yards from backs, it's a pretty damn good combo. I think you could get to 3K. And if you do get, guys, I will make this proclamation right now. If LSU can get to 3,000 yards passing and advance in their rushing analytics and statistics and get to 3K apiece, guys, you're going to win a natty. You're going to win a natty. Or you're at least at minimum going to get in the playoff. What did I say? 77%? I mean, 67%. Thank you, Brian Williams. Math is my strong suit, but sometimes I get rambling and say things I don't really mean. But yes, 67%. Jeremy Hodge sends a $4.99 via super chat. Thank you so much for doing that. He says, I wouldn't worry about our QB room unless Nuss hits the portal. With that talent coming in and the portal kids, we will be fine. First off, thank you for the super chat. And I agree with that. I 1,000 holistically agree with that. You know what's interesting about that QB room? Man, I will tell you this. Let me just say this to give myself an out, because I don't really believe anybody around this, because sourcing can only go so far on this part. I don't really know what to believe, nor do I necessarily care at the current moment. Some people believe that LSU's doing some things behind closed doors, quote unquote, which isn't wrong. It isn't wrong at all. They're doing it legally. Some people believe that LSU's doing things to get Walker Howard to come back. Uh-oh, did I strike a nerve? Uh-oh. Let me say that again. Some people believe that LSU's doing things to get him to come back. We'll see. Can he come in and compete? You can always come back for spring. You're not – August is September, really 9 months away, man. You'll less than not – I mean, you could have a baby. You could almost have a baby. Get your wife pregnant tonight, and you could almost have a baby for the start of football season. That's how long it's going to be. It's going to be a long time, man. Long, long time. Conrad on Facebook says Colin Cowherd has us as his dark horse national champion. He says NFL scouts see JD5 being pro next season. I listen to professional people, not some fan in the stands. Let me tell you something about national guys. When it comes to college football, they're normally pretty shitty. But when Colin gets in on a quarterback, he really gets in. He'll tell you what he thinks. And a lot of times he's not wrong on quarterbacks. Kenny says help is coming with the LSU line. Lance Hurd is being compared to DJ Fluker. I don't know if I like that comparison, but it makes sense. It makes sense. Brandon Reese says, I think the West Division comes down to us and Bama next year. I don't trust those other teams, nor really should you. I mean, if there's a lot of people talking about Kendall Briles going to TCU now that Garrett Riley is with what did Dabo say? The only NIL that we do here around Clemson is in God's name, image, and likeness. Zach, you go to church every Sunday. You go to church every Wednesday. You know that that's a little bit of a cornball statement, right? It's a little bit of a cornball statement. Zach grew up with a passer. It's a little bit of a cornball statement. It is, man. It is. Kevin Abear says no natty without a better O-line. Kevin, I don't know if I don't know how much I don't disagree with that, but man, at some point, y'all got to start. LSU fans are going to have to start giving this LSU O-line a little bit of a break. Dog, you ran for 2,600 plus yards last year. You almost ran for 3,000 yards. So if you did some just quick math, let's do some very quick math. Let's just say they had 2,650 rushing yards. LSU played 14 games. That's 189 rush yards per game. Let me do that math again. 2,650 yards divided by 14 games that you played a season ago. Guys, you ran for 190 yards a game last year, and you're blaming the O-line. Let me just say this. If you have an offensive line that is producing or help you to produce 189 yards rushing on the ground, they don't suck. They don't suck. Come on. Brandon says, do you think Kelly will play a 2 QB offense, JD5 and Nuss? I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. I really wouldn't hate it. Lisa says man. Well, Lisa, let me just tell you this. I'm not saying that Matt's wrong, okay? But he better pick up the phone and call again. Jason, because they out there talking that shite. Jason Brumfield says, it's my wife's birthday. Happy birthday to your wife. And another boy does sound cool. No, I'm good. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx me, Blake. Yeah, you can have a baby in 9 months, dude. I just had one. I just had one. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Man, 2's enough for the Ruffino household. That's all I'll tell you. Lamar Williams says we need a right guard. I think you got it, Pressure. I mean, I think you got it in Emory Jones. If Zalansard is who we think he is, you kick Zalance out to right tackle, you move Emory Jones into right guard. I think that you have him. So some may believe that you're in a situation where you are better with Zalansard coming in and Emory Jones going to guard. I'm one of those people. I think I'm one of those people. All right, so a month away, I see a lot of baseball comments coming in here. Guys, you are a month away. So LSU will the first pitch, tee it off, whatever you want to call it, will be on February 17th. Listen, I have not, because we have been in a situation where football has been our life, really, since we've gotten to July, maybe even before then, June, whenever LSU baseball was done and the Hattiesburg Regional was over. I know that a lot of you might not follow baseball, might not, you might just come here for football. We talk a lot of baseball on this podcast. We talk a lot of baseball on the show. Guys, in my opinion, this could be, at least on paper as of right now, they're the best team that you've seen in a long time. They have the potential. This LSU team has the potential, as they came in today as D1 baseball's number one preseason team. They are the consensus number one team in the country. And it's because of what Jay Johnson did in recruiting. It's because what he did in the portal. When you go out and get a guy like Paul Skeens, who as a freshman hit 410 and as a sophomore hit 311 or something to that nature, and can go on the mound and give you 7 solid and can go up against the SEC team like he did last year against LSU and shove it up their arse, you get into a situation where a lot of people are going to, and a lot of eyeballs are going to be on you. When you have the number one overall recruiting class in the country, even though some of your class went into the MLB draft, you still have a lot of those guys that are coming in. Gavin Guidry being one of them. Aiden Moffitt, so many of these guys. They had dudes coming out the pen like Aiden Moffitt, or maybe he gets into a starting role position. But you sit in a situation where you have dudes now. The rotation has a potential to be very good. 1, 2, and 3. Paul Skeens. A lot of people are saying Paul Skeens are going to go on Friday night. I don't know. Jay made it sound as if that he might go on Sunday because he wants Skeens' bat on Friday night and Saturday night, or Friday night, Saturday, and then wants him to throw on Sunday. We'll see how Jay does that rotation. That's what he said. That's out of his mouth. So we'll see. But the only thing for me that LSU is the biggest question mark, it's not what they're going to do in the field. It's not what they have. I mean, look, This is not what's probably going to happen, but just humor me. Let's act like it is for just a minute. Trey Morgan, Josh Pearson, Dylan Cruz, Tommy Tanks, Paul Skeens, DH pitching, whatever you want to put them. Braden Joe Bear, Gavin Dugas. I'd put Dugas at second. Thompson at short or Gavin Guidry. Neapolt or Dugas at second, whatever you want to do. And Milazzo or Travinsky or Bear, whoever you want to put there. Guys, you're going to hit a ton. You know what? Of this starting lineup, for LSU, the interesting part of this is you have 8 guys that can potentially be 1 through 9 that have done one of two things. Either they hit multiple or double-digit home runs, 10 home runs or above, or they've hit over 300. People forget last year because Jordan Thompson had the injury and made some errors. They forget how clutch he was at times at the plate with his bat. He hit over 300. Pearson came on the end. Trey Morgan struggled in the beginning of the season. All of a sudden, he turned it on, hit above 300. You don't need an introduction for the best player in college baseball, and that being Dylan Cruz. Who do you throw to? I mean, if Dylan Cruz and Tommy Tanks are 3-4, 2-3, however you're going to line them up, however Jay is going to put them in the lineup, who do you throw to? Runner on second, you're going to throw to Cruz? Well, now you got to throw to Cruz, or maybe you don't have to. Maybe you put him on first. But if runners on first and second, or second and third, you got ducks on the pond, you're going to walk Dylan Cruz? How many times are you going to walk Dylan Cruz to get to Tommy Tanks with the bases loaded? My point is, you're going to hit a ton. Now, we got a long way to go. An absolute long way to go. A month is a long way to go. It's going to be a long baseball season. A very long baseball season. Here's the only hope that I have. The only hope that I have is LSU historically started off slow. I don't know why. I don't know if that's a pulmonary thing and then you figure it out. I don't know that. Here's what I do know. I don't want that to happen. Go out there and start beating the shit out of everybody. Beat everybody down. We'll see. Nothing better than some good water, but we'll see. It's of my opinion. When you recruit, see, I say this in all sports, and people laugh at me when I say this. When you recruit at a high level, it's like the old Spider-Man saying to some degree. With high recruiting comes high expectations. When you get a number 1 overall class, you clean up in the transfer portal. The expectations go very high. You were very close to making a super regional last year and hosting a super regional against then the now national champion Ole Miss Rebels. You can do it again. There's no excuse. There's no excuse why you shouldn't be at least at minimum 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th, getting back to Omaha. And I'm talking bare minimum. Now, a lot of things can happen. Tennessee was a really good team last year. Notre Dame went over to Knoxville and knocked them off. We'll have to wait and see because injuries are a part of the game. You never really know what's going to ultimately happen. But if everybody stays remotely healthy, you should be the best team in college football. Now, here's the flip side of that token. Today in D1 baseball came out with their top 25 and their top 10. 7 of the top 10 teams are from the SEC. If you think football is hard, in the SEC, look at baseball because it's murderer's row. You could have a situation where, and this is no joke, you could literally, and I would have to go back and look at LSU's schedule, and Zach, we might pull this up after the break. There's a very strong chance that LSU could go into a weekend series facing 3, 4, 5 top 25 teams in a weekend series. No other team has had to do stuff like that. No other conference has to do stuff like that. So when you see a team like Pepperdine or Our Lady of the Lake Institution hitting like 1,000 home runs a season, it's because they play Dookie State University and Rudy Poo Crew State and Grand Valley, whatever. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. Y'all know it's true. Y'all know it's true. Okay. D Payne says it's Omaha bust. We'll see. Dale Broussard says, is Thatcher Hurd 100%? Well, all right, put it up, Zach, if you got the schedule. From what I understand, he's been good to go. He's been good to go. Donald Kelly says, could we be looking at a true return of Gorilla Ball? You could. Go down, Zach. Let's get to SEC play. Hold on. All right, so Texas A&M is the number 4 team in the country. So you have A&M, you have Arkansas, that's number 10, so that's 2. Keep going down. Tennessee, which is the number 2 team in the country. South Carolina, that is the number 23 team in the country. Kentucky's not ranked, so you have 4 weekends. Ole Miss, that's 5. Alabama, that's 6. Auburn was not ranked. Auburn was ranked 21st. I'm sorry. So that's 7. Mississippi State was not ranked. Neither was Georgia. So you're in a situation where, thank you for doing that, Zach. You're in a situation where 7 of your 10 weekends are against top 25 opponents in a weekend rotation. Strength of schedule is going to be up there, man. It always is. Now, Zach, put that back up. Do we play? So the first weekend we go to A&M. Boo. They suck wiener over at A&M. I probably shouldn't say that. I'm probably about to get canceled. God dog it. I thought so. Tennessee series, Zach's at home. Starts March the 30th. The AYS crew needs and it starts on a Thursday. On a Tuesday. We need to get the AYS crew to Alec Box against Tennessee. Okay. Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Anyway. Roderick Dugas says, Blake, did you see that Walker Howard got a crystal ball to Ole Miss? I did see that. We'll see. Let's see what happens. But listen, this whole Walker Howard thing is so far over the place. Look, if you want to go, go. If you don't, you don't. But, if you do, you do. You don't, you don't. But I think it's funny how I don't know. I guess I don't know what I don't know. But I hate it for the kid. I hate it he's not here, but ain't no sweat off my brow. Ain't no sweat off my brow. Hey, man, you got to come here and compete, dog. You got to come here and compete. Shit ain't going to be given to you. I'm sorry. I love the kid. He's going to be really good wherever he goes. You got to compete. You got to compete. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about our good friends over at Synergy Resources. Synergy RESLLC.net. That's Synergy RESLLC.net. Pipes, hoses, fittings, they do it all. Give our buddy Tully a call today or just go over to SynergyRESLLC.net. That's SynergyRESLLC.net. Let them know that Blake Ruffino sent you on by. And our good friends over at Wham Electric, your licensed electrical contractor. Guys, I tell you this all the time. I know it's January. I know that the hurricane season and really just rough weather is a long time down the road. Sometimes I will tell you there's no better feeling with my family, my 2 small children, and my wife to know that we have a Generac right here in our home. Give Wham Electric a call today. They're the most professional crew that you will ever meet. They're always there for your residential needs. Whatever you need, they can provide. Call today at 985-241-8059. That's 985-241-8059. Let them know Blake sent you on by. Let's talk about our good friends over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Turning 45 seconds. Got a lot more to talk about next.
By the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
So let me tell you something that really aggravates me. Now, Lamar Williams says, I need a Generac. Dude, you got to pressure you. I know you got all the money in the world. Hey, did y'all know that when Pressure walks out his front door and he steps on grass, oil pops out that mother? Oil just be shooting out. He's got that oil money. Got that old money. I went to lunch with Pressure a while back. Zach, you ain't going to believe it. Brand new vehicle. Boom. Saw a Corvette. It's like, I want that thing. Boom. Bought in cash. Pulling out $100 bills. He tipped me $100 just for being there. I'm like, God dang it, Pressure. Anyway, Conrad says Jamie Howard, his dad, had to compete back in 1992. Yeah, well. All right, let me say this very quickly, okay? I don't talk a lot of Saints on this show. You know why? You know, there were some issues back in the gap with us and, you know, whatever. So I was like, well, if you don't want us talking about you, we won't. I mean, it's not like you need me, and I don't really need you anyway. I gotta say this. I'm a big Saints fan. I love the Saints. Always have, always will. Last night, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went up against Dallas. You know the ending. Golly, and Brett Maher, the kicker. Zach, did you see? He missed like 4 extra points. Regardless, Tampa Bay would wind up losing. This morning at 9 a.m., I get a text message or notification, whatever you call those things, that Byron Leftwich has been fired. Then I look at the Chargers, another playoff team. Their OC, Joe Lombardi, has been fired. And then I'm just sitting here waiting for the Saints. I'm constantly waiting for the Saints and the notification from John Hendricks, Nick Underhill, Ian Rappaport, Adam Scheffner, whoever it may be. I'm literally waiting for the report. And it just says something is brisk and nice and sweet. Breaking. The Saints have fired Pete Carmichael. That's all I want. You know, it's like, I know that we just had Christmas, but I want to be like Mariah Carey in that song. All I want for Christmas. It's for Pete Carmichael to be fired. I don't like, guys, it does not benefit me whatsoever. It doesn't benefit hardly anybody to come out here and start talking trash and saying a guy needs to be fired. But, man, how many times are we going to go through this as Saints fans with Pete Carmichael at the helm for offensive play calling? Guys, he's poo. He's dookie. He really isn't that good. He really isn't that good. Sean, when he returned from his suspension, gave Pete Carmichael play calling duties. That resulted in Sean taking it all back. If Sean were to, wherever Sean goes to be the next head coach of whatever team, is Pete Carmichael going to be his OC? Why are the Saints waiting? The biggest probably, and I don't even know what the right word is while we're seeing here on radio to say, the biggest lie that I feel like the Saints have tried to sell me is that we're trying to keep a culture. What culture? It's back-to-back seasons you haven't made the playoffs. What culture? getting so close to playoffs and you don't win it culture, having very bad production offensively culture. I get that Pete doesn't have a lot to work with at quarterback at times. I know the redheaded stepchild Andy Dalton isn't doing good, but that is just down par for the course when it comes to the offensive struggles and problems that you have offensively. When I go out here and I see Kyle Shanahan with Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, going out here and winning games with a guy that literally was the last pick in dodgeball in the NFL draft, and you're going out there and winning playoff games, spare me that you sit in a situation where Andy Dalton can't win you more than 9 games for you to get into a playoff. When you had the Saints going out there and holding teams to below 13 points through half the season, did you know that the Saints defense were holding opponents' points per game to under 13 points and you couldn't win worth a Rudy poo? You go and play Tampa in Tampa, you lose because of offensive play calling. You should have been playing in the Dome last night. You should have been playing a playoff game last night if you would have beat Tampa Bay so many weeks ago. Pete Carmichael's not a good offensive coordinator. I don't know what Mickey Loomis is waiting for. Maybe he has a soft spot for Carmichael. He's been there since 1962. He's been there longer than the lights have been on in the Superdome. The bottom line is, guys, he's not a great play caller. Now, is he a good guy that he can break down film and he can do a lot of things? He's a great quarterback developer? Maybe. That part I don't know. An offensive play caller in this league is not it. Now, do the Saints have to go out here and find a quarterback to help him out? Yes. Maybe they sit in a situation where they say to themselves, you know what? Our quarterback position was so bad. Let's give Pete Carmichael another try. Well, the problem with that is I don't see a scenario or a situation where you get to a point where Pete Carmichael is going to have anything better than a packet of ketchup, a soda can, some Vienna sausages, some fucking sardines, and a pair of crackers where it's going to be worth a fuck that they could go out there and do anything remotely good. I sit here and tell you, when, again, Brock Purdy was the last pick in the NFL draft. It's like, remember when you were in junior high and all the kids lined up on the brick wall and everybody just gets picked for dodgeball and you're the last little fat chubby kid with big titty nipples standing up there and you're the last kid picked? That's Brock Purdy when it comes to Mr. Irrelevant. That man has more playoff wins in the last 2 years. Even though he's only played one season with the 49ers, he's got more playoff wins than the Saints. It's an aggravation. It gets me to a point of anger. It gets me to a point of anger where you have the talent. You have the talent to make the playoffs. Your coaching's not worth a damn. Don't make moves. Doesn't matter to me. But I will tell you that don't make the playoffs again. You got to bring somebody in that's innovative enough and knows the game enough in this new era, in this new age. You're not going to get offensive pieces that are worth a damn if you're not creative in doing things what kids learn to do in high school and college. And for crying out loud, do something other than Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, the redheaded stepchild at quarterback. But I guess the Saints think they're okay and that they don't have to make any moves this offseason. Meanwhile, Tampa's doing it. The Chargers are doing it. So many teams are doing it. Hell, for crying out loud, fire the entire freaking staff for all that matters and hire a guy that I think that could bring you back to the promised land, and Dan Campbell. Biting off kneecaps and everything. It's unreal, man. Tom Benson would never. Anyway. Rick Clody says Miss Benson and Mickey Loomis need to make the moves to improve the Saints immediately. Our talent was offensive results. True. Chad Briscoe says, what culture? A losing one? Yeah, it was a bad culture. Holden Lee says, hashtag Ask Blake, you got to pick one, Pete Carmichael or Cam Cameron. Pete Carmichael. Cam Cameron. Guys, did y'all know that Cam Cameron, with the first overall pick, took Ted Ginn Jr. because he knew his dad? Guy stunk, man. He stunk. In his defense, it was still less his offense, though. Stefan says, if you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball, Blake. It's true. That is true. Brian Reese says, I'm interested to see what the Saints do at QB. I am too. You got to figure something out. You got to pray. There's a sense in this. There's a sense in me that says, like, you got to pray to some extent that the Saints do trade Sean Payton, because maybe you can get back in the first round with a pick, or maybe a couple picks, maybe a first and second round pick. And you get back in the first round, and you got to pray to God that somebody falls. I don't think that Will Levis is going to fall that far, even though I think he might. But you have some guys out there that you could possibly go and get. You got to go get a quarterback, man. This league is about quarterbacks and offensive play calling. You don't have either one of them. What are you going to do next season? You going to run back out there with the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton? Is that what you're going to do? Or if you're the Saints, are you going to run back out there with the redheaded stepchild, which Andy didn't play bad? Are you going to run back out there with Jameis Winston and crab legging? And then Glasses Pete Carmichael is going to be calling plays? What's funny, I tweeted this today, and my good buddy Ant Marshall had to help me out here. Okay, of all the 8 teams that are still in the NFL, are still in the playoffs, of all of them, 7 of them are offensive-minded head coaches. Only one is not, and that's Sean McDermott. But you have really good offensive pieces and talents and quarterback in Buffalo where you can get away with that. What you can't do is with a guy like Dennis Allen, when he runs his happy ass out there with his goofy walk, and you go out there and you're trying to compete with Andy Dalton, your best wide receiver on the team, Mike Thomas, refuses to play. What are you supposed to do? Everybody keeps telling me with the Saints that you cannot blow it all up and bring it back together. Well, to some point, you're going to have to, because you don't, outside of Chris Olave and Shaheed came on late, your biggest playmaker on the outside isn't playing. Your culture is fractured when you have situations like Mike Thomas. When you're losing back-to-back seasons and not getting to the playoffs, I'm sorry to tell Mickey Loomis this, and people can say that, well, Blake, you're not in the building. I don't have to be in the building to know that the culture is fractured. You know, it's kind of funny in a way, because we saw this kind of with LSU in a sense. You're seeing it play out with the Saints. But I be damned, and I'm going to be quiet and try to be a fan and go out there and root for the Saints. But I be goddamn if you run out there with the Red Rocket and Pete Carmichael. Was, you know. Anyway. What do I know? You know, this is interesting from D. Smith. You know, Derek Carr is going to be replaced in Oakland. Why not go get Derek Carr? Derek Carr is a better overall quarterback than what the Saints have right now. Do you saw him sign into a long-term deal? No. But I will tell you this. As God is my witness, I know that Taysom Hill is not that great of a quarterback, but if you go and get a very innovative coach that can call plays and run a true spread offense, somebody in here, and I don't think this would work, but somebody in here earlier said Joe Brady. Joe Brady could even put Taysom Hill at quarterback, and I think that your offense will be a little bit more comparable than what you've seen with the Saints already. You can think Taysom Hill throws ducks all over the field. He does. But the bottom line is it's not working now. That's a lot of pimped up frustration towards the Saints. All right. Pressure Williams says Joe Brady is not this great offensive mind. I don't disagree with that necessarily. He says, if so, he wouldn't have gotten fired in the middle of a season. Yeah, Pressure. I don't necessarily agree with that. Look who the head coach was. Matt Rule got fired now. Matt Rule is like the second coming of Jesus Christ in Nebraska. You know, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. I don't think Brady's a bad offensive play caller. I don't think he's a bad offensive play caller. D. Smith says, I think Kingsbury was OC. Well, that would be nasty. Well, that man's out in Thailand getting some you-know-whats. Jason Brumfield said, Ted Ginn Jr., LOL, all because I knew his daddy. Good Lord. Yeah, that's a true story. That's a very true story. Jeff says Joe Brady is a QB coach right now. Yep, in Buffalo. All right, Zach. Let's up. They heard you listening to some Paul's Hub.
No, right. I was watching the SEC short from this. I think it was.
No, you were listening to Paul's Hub. You excited about this baseball season or what?
I'm very excited. I have to agree, although I don't agree all the time with the fans. I do agree. I think it's Omaha or bust for sure. Not national championship or bust, because there is a lot of fans saying national championship or bust. No, let's be realistic. It's hard to win a national championship in college baseball, especially when you get to Omaha. But I do think Omaha is for sure where LSU needs to end up at the end of the season. It's expected.
Well, man, I mean, look, Tennessee was a really good team last year, and Notre Dame rolled in there and beat that ass. I mean, it's not uncommon. LSU's had good teams before. Here's the problem that I got, though, Zach. They haven't had a team on paper that's this good. You know, you talk to scouts like Benny Latino and others. I don't think you've ever seen a team with this many first-round picks on it. Most of the time, these first-round picks like Dylan Cruz, Paul Skeens, Clean, however you say the kid's name, you don't see this many first-round picks. Tommy Tanks, you don't see that many first-round picks on one team ever. Like, yeah, there's the potential that this team has more first-round picks than any team in college baseball history. And if that's the case, then you should walk out there with big donkey nuts and just teabag everybody.
That's why there's the expectations, is because of the talent level on this team. I mean, I'm interested to see what they do pitching wise, because obviously we know they could hit the ball last year, and I mean they're going to hit the ball this year too. That's pretty obvious. So can you fix the pitching from last year, and can you fix the fielding issues from last year? That's going to be interesting to see. I really think you're going to be pretty solid with the starting rotation. I mean Thatcher Hurd, Ty Floyd, Grant Taylor, Paul Skeens. I think they're going to battle it out for that starting rotation. And then you got guys in the bullpen and guys that could start midweek they're going to be really good too. I mean, you got guys like Chase Shores, who's a freshman who passed up the MLB draft. Guys like Garrett Edwards and a guy coming back in Javon Coleman. I'm excited to see Javon Coleman back coming off Tommy Johns.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then you had like Grant Taylor that looks really good.
Yeah.
Can Grant Taylor, find his way in the starting lineup at some point, or just come out of relief throwing 98? Let's see. All right. Been a good night, Zach.
Yes.
Well, I had to get this. I had to get this this part out about the Saints, man. They're just pissed.
I don't blame you. It's been pretty frustrating. Like I've kind of I'm a Saints fan, but this year I've been like, all right, well, what's Joey B and the Bengals doing? I like it,
No doubt. That's
how bad it's been.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. All right, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Y'all have a good night. Peace out, Girl Scouts.